This semester, obviously, we've started back with masks. We'll see how long that goes. We're also been asked to do a seating chart again this semester. So I'm going to pass this around. We'll see how spatially reasoned you are and if you can get yourselves in the right spot. You, row 2, you're those two seats. So I'm here eventually, here we are, about 8 minutes in, for Poli 205 Intro Stats, which means if you're here, you are taking this class for perhaps your core curriculum math. You could be a public health major. Your politics professors could have suggested it to you. Could be an Intel student. Could be from anything. Last semester I had theater and art history in this class. My name is Frederick Wood. I'm a professor of political science. You can find me over in Britton Hall on the 3rd floor, room 357. We have my email, that's our class. You'll notice we have 2 classes, a Tuesday class and a Thursday class. As I explained in my email last week, this is a hybrid class. So you're going to be with me one day and then online for the other day. And I'll be here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The room's big enough that if you have an emergency and you can't come to class on Thursday, you know you have a doctor's appointment or you have to, do something, you're not going to be here on Thursday, you're welcome to come on Tuesday, but you're not welcome to completely switch sections, right? It's like an emergency thing. It's just another option available to you. I have office hours before class and after class. I'm available on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday by appointment. Usually I'm home on Monday and Friday, so you can hop on the Zoom and join my personal room and we can chat on Zoom if you'd like. Or my office phone is actually being forwarded to my cell phone. So if you're not afraid to talk on the phone, you can call my office phone. Sometimes talking is easier than writing the epic email. And that is how you get a hold of me. Email is the best way to get a hold of me. Email also goes to my phone, so you're going to get to me one way or another through here. That's who I am and how to get a hold of me. Any questions about that? Nope. Cool. All right. Let's talk about this class. What is this class? Introductory statistics for social and behavioral sciences. So I'm going to divide that into 2. Introductory statistics is trying to get you to combine your elementary school math with probability theory. Now the elementary school math should be easy. Add, subtract, multiply, divide. Okay, those 4 operations. And I'll throw in a little bit of a, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. All right, just a little bit of PEMDAS. But at its heart, statistics is just add, subtract, multiply, divide. That's it. You can do that because you are here at college, at university, and you have left the elementary school where you were taught to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. The statistics part, why isn't this just intro math? Well, because with statistics, we have the addition of probability. And we're not so good with probability. And I know we're not so good at probability because every day hundreds of thousands of Americans go to places called casinos and play games where they're designed to lose because they're designed to feed off of your inability to understand probability. Lotteries are designed around your inability to understand probability theory. Raffles, all sorts of things. Right? Humans are bad at probability theory. Americans are bad at fractions. But humans are bad at probability theory. So in this class, we're going to start out very soft, very introductory. And we're going to remind ourselves of that elementary school math. And then about week 5, I'm going to introduce probability to you. And we're going to combine probability to start doing actual statistics. What are we going to do it on? Well, that's the second part of the class, social and behavioral sciences. We're studying statistics and probability so that we can understand human beings. The math for the social sciences, like sociology, criminology, political science, psychology, advertising, economics, are all based off of studying human beings and their decisions and how they make decisions. But we as human beings are not deterministic. Now that's a fancy university word for you. Deterministic has that root of determined, which you think is like a positive trait, right? He's really determined to get the job done. Deterministic is what the hard sciences rely on. So if I knock over your coffee cup, what happens? It'll fall and spill. How do you know that? Gravity. Gravity is determined. Not because it has a perky personality and it really wants to see things through. Gravity is determined because we've learned in the hard sciences that mass can draw smaller masses to it. So your cup's a little mass. What's the big mass that it's being drawn to? Like right now, if I do this, that's a mass. What's the big mass that it's drawn to? No. The really, really big mass that we're all on. Earth. Yeah. Earth's a really big mass, right? So whether it's a cup being knocked off the table or an airplane in the sky, what goes up must come down. Why? Earth's really big and heavy. That's physics. That's deterministic, right? It must be fun in the sciences because you're like, wonder what happens if we light this on fire. Let's see. Or put it in water. Does it float? Hard sciences have rules for behavior, right? It's how NASA can take a mass, launch it away from the Earth's mass, and land it on a different mass hundreds of thousands, if not millions of miles away. Why? Because physics is deterministic. And you learned all this probably about middle school science. Object in motion tends to stay in motion unless it hits a countervailing force. Force equals mass times acceleration. Energy equals mass times a constant squared. Yada, yada, yada. That is your high school physics class, right? Social science, you all are not deterministic at all. I experience this every day because I'm a parent. I've got an Abby who's 12 and a John that's 8, almost 9. They're nothing alike. And depending upon the time of the day, the setting of the sun, and the temperature of my house, sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't. They fight each other. It's over stupid shit. Stupid stuff. I grew up an only child, so I was not accustomed to the stupidity of siblings. Your brothers and sisters and you do stupid stuff all the time for no reason.
Let me just tell you, me and my brother are just like that. Even we can't say why we fight.
Yeah, and you don't know why, right? And the reason you can't explain it is because you're not deterministic at all. So what we do as a social science is we use probability theory to help explain the things that we can't explain, which is you and me and them and everybody else that you're around. The goal of this course is to give you just enough introductory material so that you can do social science and you can help explain why people make decisions, think the way they think, and do the things that they do. And I hope you can all relate that to whatever your major is. Do I have any public health people in here? Thank you. And your name is? Catherine. Do you go by Catherine? All right, Catherine. Catherine with a C or Catherine with a K? C, Catherine. Okay. What kind of public health are you interested in? Okay. Why do people have kids? Ultrasounds. I know ultrasound technicians do more than just look at babies, but that's the fun part of the job. It's kind of like the marine science people do more than pet dolphins, but that's the fun part of the job too. It's okay. This is a safe space across campus. Public health, ultrasound. Public health is the study of what? Enlighten your friends in the room. Yeah. Okay. So our community health, what are the sort of the big things in our health these days, other than COVID? Physical fitness, exercise, which is linked to what? Obesity. What else? What else do public communities have that are health issues? Little drinking, little drugs, sexual behaviors, the fun stuff, right? Essentially. Her job is to learn how people make decisions about doing things like drinking, having sex, eating, exercising. Again, all of the fun stuff. And to figure out what will motivate us to do it or refrain from that activity. That's a pretty good description of public health, right? Public health is a social science. So what you're going to do this semester is learn a little bit about statistics so that you can ask a question, right? Why do people, and then fill in the activity, right? What leads to that risky behavior? That's what I want out of this course. Yes, there's the math part, and it's just a little bit of math, and it's mostly elementary school math. That's the lie I tell you to get you through the first half of the class. I'm upfront about it. Okay. So that's what we're going to do in here. That's what the class is about. What else do we need to cover? Plug for the Vax to the Max program. Speaking of public health, either coastal students don't want to get vaccinated or coastal students don't want to tell coastal that they're vaccinated. So to encourage you to do both, the university is giving out like $10,000 a week to students. If you upload your vaccination card, as policies change throughout the semester, they're housed at the university's website. Right now, the biggest thing for us is wearing a mask that covers your nose and your mouth. We've been doing mask wearing for a year. I hope we've got that part figured out. And having a seating chart in case we need to do contact tracing. All right. Our other student responsibilities, we have a student code of conduct. The biggest thing that you need to learn for this class is I expect you not to cheat. And if you don't know what cheating is, you can always ask me before you do it. And I'll tell you whether or not you're cheating. If you're afraid to ask me, then that's probably a good sign that you shouldn't do it. If you cheat in the class, you fail the class. I was the university's academic integrity officer for over 3 years, which meant that I processed every case of cheating on the university. I have actually seen it all. It was fun some days and fun not some days. It was fun when I got to act like a cop and discover that a student had invented a car accident in a non-existent county in North Carolina, and the letter that he submitted to his faculty from a non-existent sheriff in North Carolina excusing him from final exams. Yep.
Did it look authentic at all? Like,
Not at all.
okay.
I can't tell you how many medical excuses that I have seen. When you Google medical excuse, the first hit that comes up used to be a pediatric heart surgeon from Houston. Somebody you probably should not turn a note in from, since you are really pediatric heart needs anymore. The best part was when I witnessed a breakup live in front of me. She took his assignments from his laptops, and he was done with it, and her. It was awesome.
Props for the guy.
He just ended it. He's like, that's it, I'm done. He checked in with me. Am I okay here? I'm like, yep. Slid the box of tissues over, and she failed her accounting class. All right, so don't cheat. You're not that good at it. It's not a you versus me situation. My responsibility. So you're not going to cheat. You're going to come to class. You're going to do the things that I ask of you. What's my responsibility to you? First of all, I'll be here. Right? I don't have the option of taking the day off. I will be here. As long as the technology cooperates, I'll start at 9:25. And at 10:40, my phone will go off, and you'll remind me if I keep going. And that's my responsibility. My responsibility is also to be available to you when you have questions. But I can't answer your questions unless you ask them. I cannot read minds. So you have to ask me for help. And I will be available to you. And when I say available to you, I have given you my phone number and my email, and you can reach me 24/7 about anything you need at all. That's my job. You're going to get a dose of dad. I can't turn that part of me off, but I will help you out. Okay. You're going to need to buy the textbook. I know you think you don't have to, but you really should buy the textbook, because all my test questions come from the textbook. I have to order the second edition because the bookstore will not allow me to order an out-of-print book. The first edition is just fine. So if you want to save some money, go ahead and buy the first edition. Same author, same title, different ISBN, but same information. I have a recommended book there just because sometimes people have a hard time with the social science half. And if you're a political science student and you're going to have to take classes like Poli 200 and Capstone in your upper levels, this might be a time for you to invest in yourself, buy one extra book, and figure out the sort of science part. But the extra book is not part of class. It's like my Oprah's book club recommendation. But I'm not famous like Oprah, so I get to put it on my syllabus. I'll get to that in a minute.
I have to wait for my card and my bank account after.
Nope, I'll resolve that in a minute. Okay? So the books, yes, you should buy the first book, whatever edition you can afford. The second one is a recommendation only because you're a captive audience, but it is not required for the class. It is a suggestion. Your question leads into the next part. Right? When do I have to do stuff? Well, let's look at how you're going to be graded in the class. First, I've divided the class into 12 sections. I teach the class online in the summertime and the winter. I had to think of a way to sort of organize the material. I did it sort of like on a weekly basis. And when you throw out syllabus week and you throw out midterm week, I have pretty much consistently in the calendar these 12 weeks. Divide the class in half so that I can give you a midterm. This is the start here week. This is syllabus week. This is the best day of the semester. I love this day. I don't have to teach anything other than me. It's a great day. So that's this week. And you got to get your stuff together. You might be adding, dropping classes, dealing with the bookstore, whatever you got going on. Just a nice, soft first week. The next 6 weeks before the midterm exam, each section of the class, each week, has an exercise at the end of it. So if that section 1 exercise is due next Friday, you probably need to get your book pretty quick. That first section exercise is not due next Friday. I've simplified the due dates for the section exercises. I just need you to get them done before the midterm. Right. So do you need the book next week? No. You don't need the book next week. Do you need the book before the midterm? Yeah, it's the midterm. Like, you definitely should have your textbook by week 7. Okay, and I think that's a reasonable request to have. Oops. So the class is divided up into 12 sections, 6 before the midterm, 6 after the midterm. Each section has an exercise at the end of it. 12 exercises, 2.5% each is 30% of your grade. It's a good chunk. Right? It's 3 letter grades. You go from a 90 to a 60 if you don't do any of them. Right? We'll have a midterm exam. So by the midterm, you'll have completed about 45% of your, 35% of your grade. If you're not doing well by the midterm, there's still a lot of time left. Right? You still got 65% to go. The end of the class, we'll have a course paper, which is worth 20% of your grade. The course paper is you proving to me that you can do social science research using statistics. Right. If you can't, you don't get that 20%. Right? And I've spent a lot of time over the last 6 years developing this course, getting people to the point where you have to be able to write a social science research paper. Because that is the whole point of this class. Right? You need this so that when you go off to your other classes, you can use it. And if you can't do it by the end of this class, you shouldn't pass this class. It's the one thing I've asked you to do. So that course paper is 20%. That's 2 letter grades. You screw up on the course paper. The last thing is the final exam. Ties everything together, 30%. It looks like you only have 4 things. Section exercises, midterm exam, course paper, final exam. But those section exercises, there's 12 of them. So 12, 13, 14, 15. You've got 15 assignments this semester. Don't ask me for any more. You don't need any more. All of your energy should be on that course paper, final exam in the second half of the class. Right? No need for extra credit. You got plenty of opportunities for credit there. If there is anything controversial about this class, it is that the paper has to be completed successfully. If it's completed not successfully, you get a 0 on the paper. And all you all hate that, and I understand why you hate it, but it's to drive home the importance of you really need to do this because that's what you're going to do to get out of this class. Coastal has this thing called interim grades, and as a lower level course, I'll have to submit interim grades. I already know what your interim grade is. It's a B. Because it's before the midterm exam. It's actually before any deadline in the course. So how can I submit a grade when I haven't even had a deadline yet? So congratulations, right now you have a B in this class. Good job. Even if they were useful, again, so much of the class is at the end. Midterm grades are just sort of a, I don't know, an early warning system. So your section exercises are divided into 2. The first one is due by Sunday, February 27th. So you'll have to complete those 6 quizzes by then. You have to have your book by then. Again, I'm giving you a month and a half. You should be okay. 2 exams. The exams are in person. As long as we are in person, like I am standing in this room, exams will be in person. And I already know the day of the exams. Your midterm exam is going to be on March 3rd. I know it's the week before spring break. I don't care. I'm going to be a jerk about this. All right? Spring break does not start until after you take my exam. So make travel plans accordingly. If mom books your flights, hey mom, I need to talk to you. I got to be at Coastal on March 3rd. Fly me home on the 4th. Same thing for the final exam. We're actually pretty early in the final exam period this time. Final exam's on Tuesday the 3rd. So let mom know, don't get me home before Tuesday, May 3rd. Plus, you need a couple of days here to unwind before you go back home. And it's going to be a long summer. You've been cooped up for like 2 years. You don't want to go back home early. Just trust me. Stay in town. The weather will be nice. Take a beach day. All right. If you don't show up to take the test, you get a 0. Just done. All right. So we've got section exercises, we've got a couple of tests, and then the paper actually give you a couple extra days on the paper. Paper's due after finals, May 6th. You need as much time as you can, plus things get really complicated that last week of the semester, so I'll give you that, all right? Any questions about where your grade comes from? Now's the time to ask them. And if you don't want to write a paper, go take Stats 201. I don't think they require one over there. No? Cool. All right. How'd my map go? Did my map make it around in the back? My seating chart? All right. We'll talk about attendance, and then I want to show you something, and then I'll take questions and... Thanks. One, 2, 3. Cool. All right. Good job. You passed the geography test. So, for attendance, I will be here. We've established that. Whether or not you come to class is up to you. And I've had this policy for several years, including before COVID, because there are just some things that I don't want to know about you. Like the color of your poop, or the various things that come out of you when you're sick. I am a doctor, but I'm not a medical doctor. So I don't need to know your medical history unless it pertains to something in this room. If you have epilepsy or diabetes and you might fall on the floor, yeah, tell me that. If you have ADHD and you need an accommodation to take a test in a quiet setting, tell me that. But the very long emails about how you went to Cancun, you cut your foot on a glass bottle, you don't know where the glass came from, I think I know, but you've got this thing on your foot and you're on these medications and you're not so sure about the Mexican doctors and your mom said you should do this. I do not care because I cannot help you because I am a fake doctor. And if you want to read that email, it's in my desk. And you can stop by and I'll pull it out and be like, haha. Yeah, that's an actual email. I'm not lying about the poop email either. I've had 2 poop emails. Professor Wood, my poop is, one was purple, one was green. Yep. I'm like, did you eat any beets? Or you have blood in your stool? Or you're going to die of ass cancer? I don't know. I'm not a real doctor. So I don't have an attendance policy. Come and go as you please, but don't email me about your poop, your vomit, looking for a diagnosis of why you don't feel right. Go to the health center. It's that way. Go talk to a real doctor, nurse, medical professional, not a guy with a PhD. What I do to help you, because things happen, life happens. Cars break down, you run out of gas, people get sick, cousins have weddings. I put the class all online. This class was designed originally as an online 100% class. You think it's fun teaching statistics? Try to teach statistics 100% online. So what I've done with this hybrid version of the class is the class is done. It's just going to unfold over the next 4 months. So next week is week 1, section 1. My lecture notes are already there. The class that I'm going to teach, or at least a version of the class I'm going to teach, is already there. This is a hybrid class. You're not coming on Tuesday. The content for Tuesday is this hybrid video. Any sort of links or things that I'm going to mention in class are already there. All right, so you get quarantined for COVID. You're not going to come to class next week. Okay. Class is waiting for you. After today, and if the technology cooperates, I've been wearing a microphone. It really only captures what I say, not what you say, so feel free to say dumb stuff, just like I do. I'm going to post that lecture recording up there for this live class. So you'll see Thursday 1/13 class video. So you will have a Tuesday option, a Thursday option, and then just the canned usual online option. You have 3 ways to listen to my lovely voice. 4 if you count actually showing up in class. Okay. So that's why I don't do attendance. Come and go as you need to. Don't feel like you need my permission not to come to class. You're an adult. Figure it out. Do what you need to do. I'll be here, and I'll be available to you most times. You don't need my permission. Go home. Go to the doctor. Get your car fixed. My first year here at Coastal, I was giving a test in the judicial process downstairs. And I'm walking to my class, got my pile of tests, and there's a girl outside the door crying. And I'm like, don't cry, you haven't even seen the test yet. Ha ha. And she goes, my fiance just stabbed my stepdad and my mom's in the hospital because my stepdad beat up my mom. Okay. Go home. But the test. Go home. I pulled out my wallet, handed her $20 and said, "Here's gas money, please go home." And when I handed her $20, something in her brain reset. And she goes, "I don't need gas money." "Okay, go home." And then she went. You don't need my permission for that stuff.
Who was in the right in that situation?
The Marine fiance was in the right. You beat on a woman, you should get stabbed. I'm kind of like Old West justice that way. All right? Yeah, it was confusing, and that's what I get to walk into sometimes. All right? Don't worry about attendance with me. Do what you got to do. Take care of yourself and your family first. We'll figure it out later. But I have done all of this ahead of time. There is zero reason for you not keeping up with class. Okay? It's all there. It's your job. I can't fire you, but it's your job to stay up on class. Okay. I want to show you this. The thing about statistics is that I will teach you the math, but you need data for it to work. When I was in college, just out of high school, one of my jobs was I was a lifeguard and a swim instructor. And teaching you statistics in a classroom is sort of like teaching somebody how to swim outside of a pool. I can show you the strokes. I can talk to you about what it is you're doing, but you got to be in the water to learn how to swim. With statistics, I can show you the equations, I can explain to you how it works, but until you put some data with it, it's not going to click for you. You need to get in the pool. So this website, Survey Documentation and Analysis website, you're going to spend some time with it next week because it's your hybrid assignment. The SDA website, for us, we're interested in the data archive. And in the data archive, there are two very large, very old surveys that are used very frequently in social science. The first one, and the one that 99% of students use, is called the General Social Survey. The General Social Survey I like to use in class because it asks a lot of questions. Not just about politics, but about life in general and all the various things that you can do in your life. The data in here goes back to 1972. So some of it is dated and anachronistic. So they will use words that we don't use those words anymore, right? But it's in data, and so, you know, don't be surprised if you see some racial slurs or other odd conceptions of how the world works. The thing about the General Social Survey is that its variables, so its pieces of data, have names. And I can remember the names. So if I want to get at a measure of gender, I know that there's a variable in there called sex. This version of sex is the common one that's been used since the 1970s. It views sex or gender as binary and asks people to identify as either male or female. Okay. This General Social Survey has 68,000 responses. There's a lot of data there. I want you to play with this website because this is the easiest way for you to actually interact with data. When I was in your seat as an undergraduate in the late 90s, early 2000s, I had to access data on a CD-ROM. I had to bring my professor a blank CD-ROM. It's a little round thing that your Apples don't have drives for anymore. You can't actually play a CD on an Apple anymore. With you go to a website, click a few buttons, the data's right there. And all of it is available to you. Every variable. If you're interested, like in public health, and let's say you want to write your paper about drug use. I discovered this variable on Tuesday. Let's see if I can find it again. Oh, I'm not going to be able to find it. Why can't I find it? Maybe it was drugs I searched. It's a little finicky about which word you use. Yeah, this one. Have you ever, even once, taken any drugs by injection with a needle? Oh, I don't like that. Needles are bad. It's my blood. I want to keep it. What drugs can't you either smoke or swallow or even rub on your skin? Why do I got to put it in my blood? Creeps me out. Man, you got to really be committed to drug use if you're going to inject yourself with something, right? Well, 3% of the respondents said, yep, done that. Who are those people? I would like to know. So this would be a good dependent variable. And we'll learn about independent and dependent variables in a week or two. Well, there's no incentive to lie, okay? It's not like they're me standing in front of a room full of impressionable young adults saying, you know, just say no to drugs, kid, right? It's usually anonymous, typically a telephone survey or a mail survey. And so we actually kind of depend upon people to be honest, okay? So, Evidu. Evidu. I'll have to remember that. I found this one on Tuesday. I like this variable. There are thousands of variables in this website. Thousands of variables in this data set. Okay. The other data that's available for my political science students is the American National Election Study. This actually goes back even further, it goes back to the 1940s. And in the American National Election Study, it tends to focus on people's decisions on who they're going to vote for, and also the opinions that they hold towards government policies. So this one's a little bit more technical, but does the respondent think of themselves as Democrat, Republican, or Independent? So this is a party ID question. And in fact, the General Social Survey has a question labeled party ID. This variable is V201228. It's like a phone number. I'm never going to remember that off the top of my head. So I don't demonstrate the American National Election Study as much as I do the General Social Survey because I can't remember the damn numbers. Okay. But if you are interested in more political questions, like I said, if you're particularly a political science major, maybe you're interested in sociology or criminology, if it involves government, chances are you're going to get better questions from the American National Election Study. All right. as I said, the class is finished. Aside from us showing up and talking about it, there's already a section for the course paper. You have study guides for the midterm and the final already. The class is ready to go. You just have to engage with it. And that's about all we need to do for today. At this time, it's what, 10:20? We've got 20 more minutes. I will answer any questions about anything right now. What do you got?
Do you recommend getting the paper copy of the textbook?
I don't care. Whatever you can do to read. I like paper copies better for two reasons. One, you get to keep it. And two, your brain actually, it sounds weird, but when you read the paper copy of a book, your memory retention is better because of the geography of the book. When your brain looks at a book on a screen, it's an image. When your brain looks at text on a paper, it's text. And so your brain is actually better looking at paper than pictures. Good. Well, then I'll reinforce your good decision. Is that a question? Yeah. Yeah. I think the first edition should be even cheaper. If you're gonna get a physical copy of the book, the first edition is perfectly fine. It's blue instead of maroon, and they added a couple of chapters to the second edition, but I don't like those chapters and I don't use them, so that's that. Y'all just want to leave, right? You don't care about me at all? You just want to go?
I was trying to figure out how I'm going to pay for any of my books because, like I said, my bank account got hacked and I can't access it for another 2 weeks.
Well, you know, check out the library to see if they have any of your books there available to use. We try, if we have extra copies, to donate them to the library. But otherwise, just speak to your professor. One trick that if it's a textbook, like if it's not like, you know, a novel or something, lots of times textbooks have student resources pages, and if you go to these pages, they have things like flashcards and chapter outlines. Like, you get something out of the book, right? Right? E-flashcards, quiz, web resources, videos, and multimedia. You can learn something while you're waiting for your book by using these websites. Right. Anything else? All right. Okay, I'll see you next Thursday. Remember kind of where you sat, because that's your seat for the semester.